All right. Good afternoon. Today is October 6, 2024. Welcome to Belloheart. Today, I have a special episode. I have two of my buddies from Middletown, New Jersey, I grew up with. Reverend Ferris, as you've come to learn, you know Reverend Ferris, the one on the left there with the Met jersey on. My left. And this is Alan Burns from, we also went to high school together in Middletown, New Jersey, from Next Home Force Realty Partners. Back after this. All right, so today we're just going to be bullshit with three Gen X Middletown, New Jersey natives. We all went to Middletown North, and we're here to talk about Alan's business. Right, Alan? You want to say anything?
No, just here to, obviously, business is what pays me, but, I'm just here to shoot the shit with you guys and just kind of catch up and just kind of go over what's going on in life right now.
So, Alan, first thing I want to say is thank you for answering the phone call the other day. I was watching your text during the debate, and it got me thinking with the show with Jamie. I'm like, who would be better than a hometown, like a homegrown type of person for the show? And I'm like, and there you are, just like, every couple of minutes I got something else going, and I'm like, fucking our linebacker from '92, man. Like let's get this guy. He's like successful businessman over this time. Let's talk about this. Let's figure out what he's had to deal with and the struggles and COVID and things like this. He's been on the front lines about this. This is what I want to talk to him about.
And I appreciate that because I am a little boisterous sometimes, and it's tough to be in business and have an opinion because a lot of people don't want you to. But I'm a firm believer that you gotta have conversations, and you gotta have conversations. You gotta get people to talk, and that's kind of why I do it. I'm not aggressive. I'm not one way. I'm just kind of that person that just wants somebody to engage in a conversation because not a lot of people do.
I'm so glad that he put it exactly that way because I've been trying to find a way because I actually I haven't talked to you about this in the phone conversations that we've had. All right.
Sorry, Met game's on.
Sorry, Mets game's on. We're distracted. Do you actually know how we know each other? Do you actually remember how we actually met?
I mean, it's been a long time.
Well, I mean, we all knew each other from passing in the hallway.
We all know each
but
other
there was
from
a
high school.
very specific event that will never leave my mind.
I'm a football player and I've been around the block a long time.
And I was a band guy, so I got picked on, right?
So I probably have killed some brain cells in my time. So yeah, if you explain it to me, I'd probably.
I don't know if you remember. I hope you do remember this. I hope you do because this actually is one of my. Actually, I can't say it's not a fond memory. At the time, it wasn't.
Am I going to get ambushed here?
No, not at all. Not at all. Alan, this is actually a very to me.
Salud, by the way.
No, to me, this is actually
welcome to the show.
This is why I asked you here because I trust you on that level. My seventh period, the last period of the day was to go to band, and I used to have to drag every one of my freaking textbooks. I looked like the biggest dork, the biggest nerd in the world. I had to drag it through there, and here I am like this overweight kid going. So before I even hung out with you guys, shop class guy.
Yeah.
Shop class guy hanging outside with, God rest his soul, John Molnar. Right, and then some other guy I just don't remember. But for some reason, that
Brian
other
Gordon.
guy, I don't know who he was. I beat the shit out of him though. And
right, maybe Cordy. I don't want to say names, but
was it Cordy?
No,
I know he was talking about that. Yeah, no, I know him.
We had a shop class crew that all we did was play cards and hang out the door.
Yeah, but you guys would hang
good
out
old days
outside.
in school.
And on my way to band, because I'd have to go through the shop hallway, I would get picked on by this one guy every day. And there would be Hooch. Sorry, I'll always remember you with the varsity thing on there with the Hooch. All right, and John Molnar, who again, God rest his soul, that was just a terrible thing, and this guy, and one day I had enough. And he picked on me, and I picked this guy up, and I threw him against the wall.
Who was it?
Right? I don't know. I was hoping maybe you can shed some light on it. But I put this guy, and he was only like my height. And obviously, Alan's a lot larger than I am. And it was the first time I
Definitely
realized
was in high school.
that's also how I realized I knew how to fight because I never had to before. And I picked this dude up and I had my arm like right across his throat. And like this guttural, don't you ever fuck with me again type of thing came out, right? And then the next day I went right by there, swaggering a little bit. The guy comes up to say something to me, and Alan and John stopped him from talking to me. Like, leave him alone. You've already been embarrassed once. Right? You know what I mean? And that's how I'm like, oh, this guy ain't so bad.
We had the same crew. I want to remember who that is. I think I do remember that. But no, you stood up for yourself, and that's what are you?
I don't know. It's been on my mind for 34
You were like,
years.
we
only a little bit.
were freshmen. He was a
Thanks,
junior
man.
at the time, right? Freshman, junior, I think, right? You were 2
Yes.
years ahead of us?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean...
He was a senior. I was a sophomore.
I remember Alan from football just because, the seniors, like, they used to walk around with the jerseys on every Friday. And used to, like,
Not to mention, you
got
were
to know
a
them.
fucking football player, bro.
And he was he was probably one of the best defensive players in the team, if not the best, right? I don't know if you want to talk shit about yourself, but...
That was all right, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I remember him being an excellent player. So anyway, Alan
Not
owns
so
a
many
business.
people have the varsity sweater.
You want to
on
promote your
with a
business
nickname.
in Middletown? You want to promote your business?
I'm a Middletown guy. I'm a Middletown guy. I've been a real estate agent, and I've been a real estate agent. So me and my wife opened a real estate company called Next Home. I have 4 offices now with some partners.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we have over 100-something agents, and
Awesome.
And you know what? I mean, I love real estate, but I love people more. So I like to attract the right people. I have a lot of people from Middletown North that are in my class. I have a mentorship program. We have an investment team. So I just, we do real estate a lot differently. But to me, at the end of the day, it's just really helping people grow and reach their potential. And, sure, do we make money when we sell some real estate? Sure, we do. But it's not my ultimate goal. It's not my vision. My vision is just really to kind of like create a vision. My ultimate vision is to create a community. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a church. So my real estate office is my real estate office is my church, basically.
That's awesome, and I love that. And I might need to ask you for a job soon.
That's an amazing thought
Whatever,
process.
whatever you do, if you're interested in, we'll invest in you at a high level. You know what I mean? So if that's something that
Because I'm unemployed at the moment.
So
It's an amazing thought process. Like I said, as a pastor,
Hey, you never know, but that's what it's
takes
about, though. It's about people, right? It's about getting to know people. And social media these days has taken the people out of the equation, in my opinion.
Well, I think, I just kind of think, people need people, and people need people, and people need leadership. I think the world is lacking leadership at the highest level.
It's there though. It's there for the taking in a couple of weeks, people.
But I'm
Right?
just thinking on the local level
Yeah.
too. I'm just thinking on every level. People need leadership. People are drones right now. Like they're just drones. They go through their lives and then they complain when it gets bad enough. Then they start complaining, and then they step up. But I think to me, community is everything. So you want to build a great community, and if somebody needs help and they're willing to put the work in, we're going to find a way to help you.
You know what's interesting is like Middletown was it's a huge town.
Huge.
Like when I started working for the county, I remember it being referred to as the People's Republic of Middletown because it was just like the huge.
It's just tremendous.
It was huge.
It
was huge.
Huge.
Well,
Right? But we had 2 rival high schools, all that kind of stuff. But you know something? When push comes to shove, it was kind of like a fraternity. Like we were like there's something about the fact that we were all from Middletown that has always got to keep us together one way or another. We can always talk about it.
I agree.
You know.
Social media has changed the game as far as that stuff is concerned, right? I mean, like even my kids, they don't like their friends are sporadic. They're all over the place because you don't need to be. The only way we got to hang out with people is actually physically hang out. Like the only way you have to talk to people is actually go talk to them. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't just text them and call them. You actually had to make friendships and relationships. And like you said, relationship building and relationships are the key to everything. And that's actually I specialize in leadership development. Believe it or not.
Well, during COVID. Like I remember, we just opened our office during COVID. It was like
Your first one?
Yeah, our first. I took my money. I was working at Keller Williams at the time. I was a team leader, and I changed that job and went to a new job.
Keep going.
What's up, Haunters?
So during COVID, I remember we opened our office during COVID, and it was we spent all this money to open this office, and we brought this new franchise to the area, and we finally launched in February, and then all of a sudden March, you're telling us we have to shut down, right? And so I have 30 people I have to look at, or I think it was like 20 something people I have to look up after at that point, and they can't go to work, right? They can't go to work. They can't do anything. So we created a lot of different things to build the community at that time. We had like online Zoom meetings every morning, 8 o'clock for accountability. We had at 5 o'clock we had happy hour Zooms, and we have all this video, right? So we have all the videos. We started, after a couple of weeks, we started, we weren't allowed in the office, but we were allowed outside. So we would cater from the local restaurants and just.
It's my building. You can't go inside.
It just created such a community at the time, and I think that's what we built our office off, this community. And
well, I got to tell you what's amazing about what you're talking about here, Alan, is right about that same time I actually bought a franchise at that point too, and I got into real estate. Not real estate, Jesus, that was you.
You didn't get a real estate.
I got into travel.
Okay.
I bought a travel agency in December of 2018.
Yeah, that's rough.
Or 2019.
Travel agency.
Yeah. And
those
by February, it was
Had a business?
Yeah.
But he found a way. And not only has he found a way, but you found a way to it sounds like you're thriving. It sounds like you're doing well for yourself.
Well, I mean, obviously we all have challenges in this market. This market's not great for real estate. It hasn't been great. I mean, houses do sell, and they do sell over S price, and they do get demands that's just because of lack of inventory. Mm-hmm. But if we're just going to talk about real estate in general, or the market in general, is the interest rates are very high. And that slowed up the market. But we've had 7 or 8% interest rates before, and that never really hurt the market. The problem with the market is inflation. Inflation is killing everybody. The cost of living, the cost of doing business, the cost of borrowing money. The inflation is just killing everybody. Until that changes, I don't think you're going to see a turnaround in anything.
So I'm going to ask you a very direct question.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you answered that so very directly, telling me about, it's inflation.
It's 100%.
And where do you put the blame for that?
Oh, people. Here's what this is what people don't understand. And our school doesn't teach this. School doesn't teach how money is created and how money is created and the direct impact of borrowing money and inflation. The more money the federal government borrows, the less our dollar is worth. And I learned this at a very, very, very young age. There was a video I just came across. It's called Modern Money Mechanics, and it shows how money is just kind of printed out of nowhere. And how the inverse.
Look at him, he's being Tim Walz.
It tells the inverse relationship of borrowing money and that. And that's the problem with the Democrat Party. I hate to say it, is they don't produce anything, right? They don't produce anything. All they want to do is borrow more money and have government run businesses, right? Government run business and handouts. And the only way you could do that is by borrowing more money. And how do you borrow more money? Is more taxes. So when you borrow more money and you have more taxes, it's just going to increase inflation. And that's the bad cycle that we're in. So when people are talking about this election, they don't talk about the issues, right? They don't talk about the policies. They're only talking about, oh, my feelings are hurt, or he's a bad guy, or this. You need to really get down to policy level, and that's why on Facebook I'm pretty boisterous about it, and that's why I want conversation. I want people to understand. I don't care if you like Trump or not, right? I'm a firm believer in Trump since the day I met him, because he exposed a lot of things since the day he ran for president, right? I'm a big believer since the day he came down and he spoke policy, right? Everything he says makes sense, right? But the other side,
never been wrong.
The other side,
he's never been wrong.
The other side just wants they just want to paint a bad picture of him and put him in such a bad light that they're not talking about the real issues. And that's what concerns me. And 50% or 48% of the population, or 30, let's just call it 40% of the population, no matter what policy it is, they're going to vote. They're going to vote against them.
TDS.
What? Trump uranium syndrome,
and that's the only reason you vote against this guy is for TDS. Because if you're a thinking human being, you're not voting against him.
Well, there's only three types of voters, right? There's people who hate Trump. Well, there's people who love Trump, MAGA, who love Trump, right? There's people who hate Trump and just have TDS. Then there's I don't know what the real percentage is of actually people who actually support Kamala for real, or they just hate Trump. There's got to be.
They're diehard Democrats. They're just the Democrat Party is highly organized for one outcome, and that outcome is to win. It doesn't matter who the policy holder. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter who their candidate is. Their job is just to win.
That is honestly the best way I've ever heard.
Well, that's true though. I mean, the
best way I've ever heard.
Well, they don't care about policy or anything. They just they care about his power. They want to stay his power.
And that's the problem with the Republican Party before MAGA. MAGA is the Republican Party was all just about holding control of what they can at the local level or the Senate or the thing. Like they didn't think of it as a whole. Like Trump's brought everything as a whole. Like he's brought everybody in as a whole, and the coalition that he's built in this election is insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Crazy.
JFK, a Democrat, Tulsi
RFK
Gabbard,
Jr.
RFK,
Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk,
Vivek.
I mean, all these guys.
Insane.
JD's
Why can't we talk about Liz Cheney?
JD's a beast.
Talk about Liz Cheney.
Yeah, and that's great point, Mike. Great point, Reverend. Is the other side. So we're adding Avengers and superheroes to our side, to the Trump side. You got people coming out of leaving the RFK Jr. is like the Kennedy name is like synonymous with the Democratic Party. Like growing up, that
But we all have to understand that the Democratic Party that this country was in love with in the 50s and 60s and so on and so forth, when JFK was assassinated, is not the Democratic Party you have these days.
Of course,
it's not.
Absolutely.
Well, the biggest issue I've ever had with the Democrat Party, like if you're a Democrat and you love freedom, and you say, oh, I'm a freedom-loving Democrat and I love it. You're wrong, guys. You're wrong, completely wrong, and you're full of shit because Joe Biden, you didn't allow JFK to be on a Democratic ticket to run against Joe Biden. All right, you didn't allow that. Okay, like it should be a free and clear election at that level. Even Kamala Harris should have to run against somebody. Should have run against anybody.
Okay, well let me ask you this. Okay,
speaking of the coup,
we just over the past couple of years, have we not seen, like even the primaries in Iowa? Did we not see people win the popular vote in primary elections and then not get the delegates for it?
Well, the biggest example of
but that's exactly what we're seeing right now. You have had a candidate right now that's been thrown down your throat now for the better part of 5 years that we've known over the past number of years.
About Kamala?
No, of Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
That we've known for the past number of years is just incompetent. Is it totally his fault? Maybe not. I mean, you can't blame it like a mental illness.
The party
Okay.
needed him to win.
Okay, but when they realized there was no chance, he never had a chance. Okay,
Who?
Bam, Joe Biden. Okay, that's how Kamala Harris went up there. She never received a single vote in a primary, and this was my argument last week. Not one. This country is based on votes. It's based on, okay?
The illusion of democracy is based on
The
votes.
illusion of democracy, exactly, okay? Nobody voted for her once because there was nobody running against Joe Biden in a primary.
So everybody understands.
Yet she
But
was
I
handed.
want to take it a further
She
step.
was handed.
I want to take it a step further. Joe Biden in the last primary, I think it was 2020, he was not winning. Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely.
Bernie
And
Sanders.
that was actually the person's name I was forgetting.
Bernie Sanders was winning, and up until I think South Carolina, and then he dropped out, or he dropped out, or they told him to drop out.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders. They knew Bernie Sanders couldn't win, but Bernie Sanders was winning the votes. He was winning the delegates.
Yes.
And they made him
That-
drop
and
out.
this is the person I was
The Democrat Party
negating the name. I
The
apologize.
Democrat Party to me is so corrupt on every
Yes.
level, and it's all about winning for their party, not winning for the United States of America, not winning for the American people. It's all about winning for them. And whoever controls the Democrat Party, they're painting the picture. Nobody else. Kamala Harris she's not qualified to be at this stage. Tim Walz is not qualified to be at this stage.
Oh, you mean putting tampons up your ass isn't being qualified to be vice president of the United States?
But even like, right, no, of course not. But what he's saying is right. They're not qualified.
No, they're not.
They're just picking people out of a hat that they
You're
can
telling me
control.
there's not a better Democrat that's better than Kamala Harris?
Sure, there's like 10 of them. I mean, well, Gavin Newsom is a piece of garbage, but he could definitely be more representative than fucking her, even though he destroyed California. What's his name? The governor from Pennsylvania. He's better, right?
There's a lot of people.
I mean, there's other. I'm not. The problem I have, guys, is that the Democratic Party has become so tainted and so like poisoned and toxic that you can't even like everything that they stand for is all hypocritical nonsense. So every single thing they do is a lie. I mean, it's all bullshit and it's all based on just power. Retaining power.
There's two examples I want to talk about, like that people don't ever talk about. The first example is we had COVID, right? They shut the whole world down, right? Like they shut the whole world down. But what was open? The border was open.
Yes.
The border was open.
There you
They
go.
don't talk about that. Like we have the whole country shut down. You have to get a vaccine to get. You have to get a vaccine to get to keep your job.
Just to go to the
get
store.
your kids in school. But you have the border in, letting thousands and millions of people in daily. God knows what diseases or so that makes no sense. So
No
right
sense.
there, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Right, which
exactly why I asked.
well, which is why the logic, like when you try to like even connect the dots logically in any sense, you cannot vote for Democratic. It's impossible because every single thing that they do is a lie and hypocritical. Like so, like the border, you know, you can't tell me you want to keep the border open and let random people in and then tell us we all have to be vaccinated and we all and then the my body my choice it's all bullshit. It's all lies just to make people fucking vote and to suck them in, right? It's nonsense.
It's like you got to think about this, right? Like everybody's different. Everybody has a point of view, and everybody's point of view can be manipulated by what they listen to and who they listen to, who they follow, right? So they break everything. They break everything down to the simplest terms, and that's the hill you're going to survive. That's the hill a lot of people are going to stand on, or they're going to survive on. Immigrants. Trump's mean to immigrants. Okay. I'm a nice person. I don't believe people should be, not me, but like people, I'm a nice person, but people don't believe, like they're, like, I'm offended by that. So they're in that group, right? And then you have the other group, abortion, women's rights. They're in that group. Transgender, they're in that group. The Democrats like to break down every single different category and lump it together against the common good of the American people.
Absolutely. That brings me to like a different point. Aren't they genius salespeople though?
They really are.
Are they genius salespeople? Like, who can say when you have an organization like Black Lives Matter? Okay.
Where'd they go?
Well, hold on. All right. Just in the name, Black Lives Matter. If you argue with it, you sound racist because you're.
They actually came out against Trump, you know.
All right, but you're arguing against something that everybody knows. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Like, and
so does all the other lives matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you
exactly.
said you're racist.
There you go.
Right, well,
there you go.
That's the whole mind fuck.
But isn't it genius? Like the way that they put these words together,
Michael.
so that they can make it sound like it's just it's against everything.
So, do you believe in a deep state or no? Do you believe the deep state exists? Yes or no?
Of course.
Well, that's such a loaded question.
It is.
So let me define a deep state. Let me define it.
You can define it.
So defining the deep state meaning that there's people above our elected officials controlling them, right?
100%, and we'll back up.
People that we don't elect
100%
are the ones making the decisions,
100%. There's a cabal, and the cabal probably controls the people that are in power, and the people in power control the politicians, right? So that's how it works, right? Now, who's the cabal? I don't know. Is it the bankers? Is it the central bank? Is it the world? I don't know.
The Fed.
I don't know who that is.
Part of it.
All right, but I don't know who it is. But yes, our government, and this is what's wrong with our government, right? Like, our government, a lot of our politicians, right? If I was a politician, I want to run for office. I'm a good guy, sure. I have things in my history, but I've owned up to them, and I repented, and I'm a good person, and I help people. But I can never run for government. I can never run for politics because I'll be crushed. I'm an average Joe. I'll be crushed. But here's the problem with our politicians. The politicians, once they get in, they're bought and paid for, okay? They're bought and paid for by big corporations, by special interests, by money. So I wouldn't even have the war chest to run against them, okay? So there's no reason, there's no way that a congressman should be in office for 40 years or 30 years. There's no way a senator should be in there for 50 years, 99 years old, can't even vote in a wheelchair. There's no way. They're controlled by special interests, and that's the problem with our country right now. And that's really where the deep state's coming from.
Well, it's obviously money. Money corrupted everything. And I agree. What was I going to say?
Like you could see, like you see foreign nations now supporting, our candidates. Like,
right, it's crazy.
Like where does all of a sudden you see Kamala raises $200 million in a day or a week? Where's the money coming from? Like, where is it coming from?
We know where it's coming from. It's coming from China, coming from overseas. Right. It's insane. Like, so that's why we need term limits for all our corrupted officials.
It'll never happen.
Because listen, money. The problem with our politicians, they get into this environment, they get into this you get elected. I'm sure they have great intentions, right? When you first get elected, like, oh, I'm gonna change the world. My constituents, my people, they voted me in. I'm gonna go there. And then the second you get into Washington, I'm sure you get a visit
you see
from
what the town's
you get a
really
visit
about.
from some of the bigwigs or some of the powers that be necessarily, and then everything just changes. Then the longer you're in that world, the worse it gets, and the less you fight, and the more you're like, just whatever. Everybody else is getting paid. I'm always just get paid also,
but
right?
Like you think about our politicians and our congressmen or senate, like now more than ever, like 100% of the time they vote along party lines, no matter what the issue is.
100%.
Raising taxes, tampons in schools,
or no voting for illegals.
Like it's 100%. It's 100% along party lines, right? So that is. There's no more. There's no more. Hey, let's talk about things. Let's figure out what's best for the nation. No, let's figure out what's best for the Democrat Party, what's better for the Republican Party, and that's what's dangerous. And when that stuff starts happening, there's no cross sale. That's when you start looking at potential civil war or conflict or something like that. That's a problem when people can't agree on anything, and that's the point of me talking on Facebook and all that stuff. I want to talk to somebody. I want to have a conversation. I want you to come to realization, or me come to realization with your argument, and that's what it should be about. And that's what I see with a lot of these podcasts coming out, because people like you are taking the initiative and they're doing a podcast and they're talking to people like me.
We're trying.
Let me ask you something. Somebody that's as active as you are, Alan, and you have been for years. I've seen.
I'm not always right, but
none of us
You're right about everything you just said. Just for the record.
There's nobody on this panel right here is going to claim to be Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? But let me ask you something.
No.
Let me ask you something. Talk about a loaded question.
Speak it up, Michael.
Do you think that a World War III is inevitable at this point, or a civil war?
I don't think a civil war. I don't think a civil war is going to happen. I am concerned. I am very concerned. Is that they're not going to let Trump win. I am concerned they're not going to let Trump win. I mean,
why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, just look at the history. They impeached him twice out of nowhere. They had all these charges against him. Okay, they tried to kill him twice. God knows how many other times they tried to kill him.
At least 3.
All right.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if he gets elected, when he gets elected, hey buddy,
Bodie is interrupting the podcast.
When he gets elected, a lot of people have a lot of things to pay for. Right? There's been a lot of corruption. There's been a lot of mismanagement of money. There's been a lot of favors. And there's one thing that Trump does that's the reason I love him. He calls it out. And he's not afraid. Like, if me and you were in a situation where they threatened my family, tried to kill me, like, it would take a lot for me not to be like, you know what, I need to shut up and sit down and
give up.
I need to hide. I need to disappear. He didn't. Like, that's why I love the guy. I love the guy because he's fighting the system.
Well, that's why when people say that Trump's selfish and he's egotistical and all he cares about himself, I'm like, how do you people even say that with a straight face? I mean, my man, he could retire. He's already been the president. He's already a billionaire. He
takes no money for his job.
He literally refused his salary as president.
Exactly.
It's proof. Look it up online, people.
He's fighting for us. Is he crass? And
he's not perfect.
Is he crass? But you got to listen to what he says, right? Like, you got to get past the bullcrap and listen to what he says, and what he says is right. Like, I mean, we would have never known if it wasn't him that the media was corrupt. We would have never. He's the friend who started calling people the fake media. And
exactly.
Nobody listened to it. That was like, okay, and then all of a sudden we started like, okay, and now we know the media. Now we know, like, just think how dangerous it is. We know the media is corrupt, right? We know.
It was like Alan was sitting in here 2 hours before you walked in the door, right?
We know the media is corrupt, and what do they want to do now? Where's people get a lot of their information? Social media. So what do they want to do with social media now? They want to censor social media.
Yes, now they want to take back the freedom of speech.
Listen. For the record, they've been censoring social media since up until Elon bought X, right? Mm-hmm. So up until X was bought,
they did. So
they came out and said, Mark Fuckface, whatever his name is, Fuckerberg, whatever the fuck you call him,
Zuckerprick.
He came out and blatantly said that the government forced me to censor, the Russia collusion and the COVID.
Well, that was interesting how he says that now. He didn't say that 4 years ago.
Right, but so like we know for a fact that they're in. Facebook is a CIA fucking company because all they do is collect information on Americans, right? So it's obviously it's used to collect data. That's all it's used for. Google is a CIA op for sure that they're connecting. CIA is involved, and if you guys don't know this, You look at Project Mockingbird and MK Ultra. The CIA has been involved in the media since the 1950s. So, and I know you know that. We've talked about this. So it's been happening for our whole lives. But now, because where we have alternative streams of information like podcasts, back channel stuff.
I want to expand on that. I never really thought about that. I never would have thought about that until things started coming out and people talking about it. And then you kind of want to connect the dots, right? You want to connect the dots. They're like, yeah, like the three-letter agency is in media. They're in the media. They're in Hollywood. They're in there. They control all these people, right? So now let's connect the dots, right? Dot number one. I mean, what was Epstein Island? Epstein Island was an operation by a government agency to capture people doing illegal things that they can blackmail and hold accountable. Right? So that's number one, right? Number two is that operation we were talking, I'm not sure if it was Mockingbird or the other one, but they were saying that they put people, or they made people very powerful inside Hollywood so they could influence other people. I mean, just look at Hollywood. Look, they all come out against Trump. They're all coming out against Trump. For what reason? There's no policy behind it.
Nope.
But they got somebody probably pulling their strings, but I'm Katy Perry or I'm so and so, or Taylor Swift, and I got 2 billion followers, and I say I'm going to endorse Harris. Like, you're influencing the election for what reason? There's no policy debate. You haven't told us why. You just said click a button, and that's why I kind of think that's why there is a deep state, and that's why there is influence that's creating vision. It's just. They want to censor you now. They want to censor you and censor me on Facebook or whatever.
And censoring me.
And so they want to censor you. They want to say this stuff is not legal and censor you guys. But there's an army of patriots creating their own podcasts. They're creating their own audiences. They're speaking to more people. But I think just people in general got to get smarter. Like, they just got to start realizing things.
Well, I think living up here in New Jersey in the blue whatever you call this, blue hell, liberal hell,
right there.
Liberal hell. Is I forget what I was going to say, but it's tough. It's tough. It's not tough, but it's harder to influence people as a whole, because like my family, my family, my mom, my brothers and sisters, they're all liberals. They're all Democrats, and they're all mad at me. Why? Because they were.
What's their hill to die on?
They've been brainwashed. My brother's gay.
He was that way until
my brother's gay
recently,
and my mother lives with my brother, and they've always been Democratic. We grew up poor in Brooklyn, right? We grew up and we moved to New Jersey, and that was just, we were always Democrats. And then even I was a Democrat. I voted for Biden in 2020, believe it or not. And I want to throw up all over this fucking microphone over it, and it makes me sick. But the reason why I did it is because I was too busy to pay attention. I was working at UPS. I was during COVID, and I could not follow the news. I could not just go and do my own. So I just took the one-liners.
You voted by party line.
I took the Google searches. I took the one-liner, updates on my phone, MSN, and I took the Trump, all the hoaxes that they talk about now that have all been proved wrong.
So you were one of the 81 million?
I was, actually. I don't believe he got 81 million votes, but I was one of them, definitely. Yeah. I was one.
Well, I mean,
and the reason why I did that is because I was, like I said, I wasn't home during COVID. I was working because UPS was never shut down. We were busy, and so I wouldn't have time to pay attention. So if I did have time to, and then once I left UPS and went to my next company, then I had more time on my hands to actually pay attention. So I actually started doing. And once I started connecting the dots, I'm like, it's so obvious that everything is a lie, and that all they do is just. They put clips of Trump talking, like the bleach thing, when he talked about the bleach for the thing. It's all taken out of context. When he talked about the fine people hoax on both sides, it's all bullshit. I mean, it's been proven wrong so many times, and they still bring up the Project 2025 stuff. Makes me sick. And they still bring this shit up. Nuts at this point. They keep you turn on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and all the fucking disgusting lying news that they are. They still bring up these. They talk about Project 2025 right now till this day.
They all talk about Project 2025. And they all talk about Project, and not one of them can explain it, right? And Project 2025 is not a Trump thing. Project 2025 it was done by the free.
It's a right-wing think tank that's been doing it since the 80s, though.
What's that called? Yeah, but I read the book. But
since the days of Reagan.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically from Reagan, right? It's Reagan, and so they just want to talk. It's a buzzword, but 90% of the people don't take the time to say, "Listen, let me go look at it and see what it is." It's just a, what's it called? But going back to I want to circle back to the World War III thing, the Civil War thing. I don't know. they can't let him in because a lot of people, he's going to win. He's going to win. There's no doubt he's going to win because the economy just sucks, right? So he's going to win, but I don't know if they're going to let him in because a lot of things will be exposed.
Right. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought it back there.
So it's going to be election out of fear.
Well, so think about it.
They're gonna do January 6th. They're gonna have riots. And my biggest thing, I just want to back up to this. Do you guys remember as a kid? I remember staying home from school, and I don't want to tie the two together, but it just kind of seems like that.
Oh, you mean the time period that we watch
we were kids,
Price is Right?
1980.
You would stay home and watch Price is Right?
1980s. I'm sitting home watching TV, and this movie always used to be on with Chuck Norris. It was Invasion USA.
Oh,
you ever see that?
Yeah.
What was the premise of Invasion USA?
God, it's been so long.
It's been a while.
What was the impression of Invasion USA?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I know what you're talking about.
Invasion USA with Chuck Norris is basically the CIA, the Russian KGB, because we were in war with Russia at the time, right? We had a Cold War. Okay, they imported millions and millions of foreigners into this country as cells. Okay, and then they turned the switch on and they attacked America. Like, we don't know how many people we have in this country right now.
Right. That's the whole border invasion. So okay. So what is your opinion? Why they're letting so many migrants in?
Well, I think it's.
And how many people do you think it totally? I mean, I've heard 8 to 22 million. I've heard I've heard as low as 8, and I've heard as high as 20.
I think it's for votes. Number one, it's for votes, right? Number one is for votes. Probably some sort of kickbacks, right? Like they're funneling money somewhere, right? They're funneling money through these organizations. The cartel, and I mean, the number one supplier of fentanyl in this country is China.
Yep.
China is shipping their fentanyl products right through the American.
China's behind all this.
It's behind
dirty
all
bastards,
of it, right? And so, I mean. It's really, at the end of the day, it's control. It's really, all these immigrants, at the end of the day, is more about control.
Well, and we were talking about COVID before, and then like Black Lives Matter and stuff. And if everybody remembers, during COVID, the whole George Floyd thing happened, and BLM became a big thing. But,
and it was a lie. It was a media.
Right, it's all bullshit. And even Kamala was, and that happened in Minnesota, by the way, where Mr. Waltz is the governor, just for the record, and Kamala, collected funds and raised money to release the BLM rioters, people that burned down Minnesota, out of jail, right? She collected a whole fund just for that. So these are the people that we're running against. We're running against people that want to defund the police, allow chaos and crime and destruction in all of our cities. And
I'm not a gun owner. I mean, I don't want to own a gun. I don't want to own a gun, but I want to buy guns, right? And they're fully registered, whatever. But I don't want to. I firmly believe in my government, and I firmly believe my local government's pretty good, but I firmly believe my government to protect me. But you just don't let 30 or 20 million people in this country and say this place is safe anymore. You can't do it, right? And then and God forbid if she gets elected, you're gonna have 40 million people in this country. Right? You'll never win an election again.
Nope.
This is why this election is the most important election there ever is, right? If they win, they will bankrupt the middle class. They will bankrupt the middle class through taxes and through taxes, and those taxes are going to redistribute the wealth to foreigners and lower class people, and that's not the way to build a nation.
No,
that's the way to bankrupt a nation. The way you build a nation is investment. Trump wants, that's the biggest, if you want to talk policy with Trump wants to unleash the power of the American industry and the power of our resources and sell them and create profit centers, not just borrow more money. Let's just borrow more money and tax people more. That does make zero sense.
Well, the problem is America's built on debt, right? Our national debt.
Our money's built on debt.
Right. Our national $35 trillion, right? We're in debt, but that comes from the Fed. The Fed is not part of the government, right? That's an illusion people have that they think.
Well, we borrow the money from the Fed. The Fed gets the money from the central bank, so we're paying back the central bank.
But it's all debt.
We're paying back the central debt. We're paying back the central debt on money created out of thin air.
So what I want to know is how much taxes do they collect from us as people every year, and why are we still in so much debt if they collect all the money in taxes from us?
It's not enough. It's barely enough. So here's the issue. Here's the issue that people don't understand. The currency of the United States, right? It is the global currency right now, right? So if we wanted to, Obama wants to give $400 billion to Iran and put it in a plane, he could just print it up and throw it in a plane and drop it off there, right? It just goes on our debt. Right? if we want to start a war in Iraq, or we want to start a war, build a military base in Afghanistan, or do something, we just print more money. We just print more money and tack it onto the debt. What happens when people stop? What happens when these other nations get smart and when they get smart and say, well, we're not using the American dollar no more. You guys worry about your own money. Then our money doesn't buy anything.
Well, what happens is we attack them.
I mean,
like in Iraq.
And they already did this in Europe recently.
Well, Iraq also.
Yeah.
I mean, it's other than Iraq when Saddam Hussein wanted to sell oil in euros, right? I mean, the petrodollar. I mean, what the petrodollar is, right? So like we came off the gold standard in the '60s, right? Henry Kissinger made the deal with Saudi Arabia and all the gold, OPEC and all those people, and gold became what backed American dollars. So no country is legally allowed to sell oil in the world unless it's in dollars. Well, Saddam Hussein said, "Screw you people! I'm going to sell my oil in euros," and then we invaded. Now.
And that's why he's got rope marks on him.
Well, he's got.
I mean, you gotta think of rich people. We weren't taught this way. We were not taught this way, and we learned it the hard way. Rich people use dollar money to buy hard assets. Right? They use dollar money. They buy gold. They buy silver. They buy real estate. They buy businesses. All right. We and that's what bothers me. That's what bothers me. Like when I see a union, and I love union. I was union for a long time, and I got out of union.
I was too.
Oh boy!
I got out of I got out of union. I got out of union because my money was worth less every year. Okay, and what does that mean? All right, so I used to commute from New York City, from New Jersey to New York City. Right. So every year I'd make like a little bit more money, I'd get a raise, but it wasn't keeping with the cost of inflation. And it wasn't keeping up with the cost of inflation. Means the bridge tolls, the parking, all that stuff. So I was like, every year I was losing more money. So I was like, this doesn't make sense to me long term. And don't tell me you're a union worker right now that you're not losing money. Like, you are losing money. There's no way you're keeping up with 9% inflation when your raise is 2% or 3%.
Is there any way that you can take what Alan just said and splice it with what I did 2 weeks ago with my Reverend Ferris fuck you moment of the day with the New Jersey Educational Association Union?
Well, it's all connected.
Alan, it was like you were sitting here for it. Right?
But
it was like you were sitting here for it.
It's all bottom line is the money. Like I wrote a piece on Facebook in March about the left leaving us. The left left us pretty much, and how everything has changed from what. And it's not that it's changed, it's just that we're aware of it now. It's like the politicians have always been dirty. The establishment's always been dirty. Since the days of, since 1950s when the CIA was created, our government's been dirty. And every single news story that they've sold us since then, when we were little, is all bullshit. I just wish we knew it back then so we could actually
we were all brainwashed too.
9/11. I mean, we live in New Jersey. 9/11 to us is near and dear to our hearts. We lost family members. We know people. I mean, I know when we had people. We worked in the city. All of us worked in the city at one point, right? Mm-hmm. And we all have friends and family that died in 9/11, or at least people that we know that died in 9/11. And
worked there. I worked on the pile.
Exactly. So, and I was working at the New York Board of Trade in at the what's it called, the World Financial Center over there for 5 years after 9/11.
What did you do there, Alan?
So I was a New York City dock builder at the time, and so when the towers went down, they called for volunteers to go and move the steel. So that I don't know if it was the second or third day. So we were cutting steels up, and we were moving steels with the cranes and stuff like that.
God bless you. I
was only there a couple of days.
I was a funeral director at the time, and I worked for the busiest funeral home in the country due to the September 11th attacks, which was in Red Bank because of Cantor Fitzgerald, who lost everybody. What I always say to everybody, and maybe you can think the same way about this, I didn't see it worse, seeing the aftermath. I saw it differently, but I didn't see it worse. Okay, because there's no way you can tell somebody like that what their level of pain should have been. Okay, what you saw and what you did there, thank you. Like you were part of a rescue mission, obviously.
I mean, I'll tell you the one thing that really stood out to me. I mean, obviously the destruction was insane.
But you were there for you smelled things, you felt things, you smelled things, you felt things that nobody across the country that saw these terrible, terrible images you have felt things in your heart, in your head, everything that you can never describe.
Yeah,
I get that to a point. I really do but I saw it different than you. Not worse, just different.
Yeah, but doesn't it piss you off as Americans and patriots?
Thank you.
After 9/11, I was so pissed off at everybody. I was ready to re-up into the Marine Corps. I was still in Brooklyn at the time.
I wanted to join, but I was 400
walking
pounds.
around with an American flag in my backpack, and I was like, I was ready to attack Muslims on a dime. And it's fucked up because just like the media sells us stories now, they sold us a narrative to hate the Muslims, hate Osama bin Laden, hate the Middle East, hate whatever. Now they were selling the Patriot Act and whatever else they were trying to push on us.
Jamie, there was a point about 50 years ago. It was kind of awful to be Asian in this.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
so
every single, like in the World War II was the Asians, right?
Yes.
It's happened to every single war or every single major significant event in America that somebody's hurt us in any way, right?
I mean, I'm American. I love America, right? And I do believe we should be helping.
That's why
people.
you're here, right?
Yeah, I love America. I love America.
Yeah, we all do.
We should be helping people, but you start to question a lot of things, right? Like the first thing you want to question, like the war in Vietnam, right? Like we're Americans, right? We should how many people did the Americans kill in Vietnam? Like millions.
And if you go back to the history of Vietnam, it started on a false flag. So
right, so we killed millions, right? And when you watch the movie JFK, and that's when you start thinking, well, it's all about money, and like how many, like they never really wanted to win the war.
That movie changed my life.
Right, so then you go to the Iraq War, right? Like, how many Iraqis did we kill, and what was the outcome of that?
Nothing.
What was the?
We're still there. There's still nothing happening.
Then you go.
We destroyed that country.
Then you go to Afghanistan. You know, we told these young ladies that we're going to give them freedom, and we're going to do all these things. We're there for 15, 20 years. What was the outcome of that? How many Afghanistans did we kill? Right?
Millions.
Right? So now you go to Ukraine, and you're insane. Everybody's insane if you don't think we're fighting that war.
Of course we are.
But we just found a different way to fight it with drones.
Proxies.
We found
through proxies. Yep.
So we're fighting that war, and now I was watching this thing the other day on YouTube.
Like 1 million dead now. They're saying.
1 million dead. For what reason, right? And I was watching this thing the other day on YouTube, and it was about. It was a cabinet during the cabinet during the Bush administration with Dick Cheney, and the guy sitting there is like, yeah, we're gonna take Iraq in 12 days, and then we're going to Iran.
Yeah, I saw that exact video you're talking about.
And I was just like,
then he said Iran. He also said Syria. He said
they want to
march across the Middle East.
Qatar or whatever.
The Middle East.
They want to go to Iran. They want to go to a war with Iran. They want to go to a war with Iran. Like that's the end of the
same neocons that are pushing the Iran war now.
Like what's it cost to produce a missile? Millions of dollars. Like you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? So it's like.
Speaking of that.
It's just gross.
Speaking of that.
Like,
how come? Why are we not talking about the fact that we literally bankrupted a Middle Eastern country in Iran, and they found a way to drop 120 missiles on Israel the other day?
We know how that happened. I talked about this last week in my podcast.
I wasn't here for your podcast. Now I can answer.
Well, we know. You mean Alan knows probably. Right? We gave them $6 billion.
$6 billion
for a prisoner exchange.
$6 billion, and you've got flooding in
North Carolina. By the way, Biden did that.
And you've got flooding in North Carolina.
He gave them $6 billion. Freed up $6 billion that Trump froze, by the way, during his presidency.
Yes, he did.
For the Iran whatever the nuclear deal we made with Iran. Trump froze that money, and then Biden freed it up for a prisoner exchange. Now, and then a year later, October 7th happened. Coincidences, I don't believe in them. So you're telling me that and now if you watch Sean Ryan, Sean Ryan podcast, he had the leader of the Afghanistan rebels, the ones that were supposed to be fighting the Taliban, and he said that we're giving like $100 million a week, or some ridiculous number. Maybe it's $50 million. I can find the exact number, but it's out there. $50 million a week to the Taliban, to the leaders, to run their fucking war against the Afghanistan rebels. So like he came on Sean Ryan begging, saying, "Listen, you guys are all being lied to." Everything is fucking backwards.
The bottom line is, how do you leave like $8 billion, $80
worth of equipment,
worth of American equipment behind?
And they just did a parade. You saw that parade?
That's why election is super important, because we cannot go another 4 years like this. We can't go another 4 years of high inflation. Like how many people that you talk to are like basically living off credit cards right now?
I can't do it. I'm me, myself, and I right now. I'm unemployed. I lost my job twice under Biden, just for the record. And now I'm looking for a job. I can't find nothing. My rent went up $600 a month here, and I can't afford to live here anymore. So like I'm in the boat of where I have to probably move to another state, because I can't live in New Jersey anymore because of what's happening. It's disgusting. I mean,
and it's just not New Jersey; it's everywhere. Just the cost of New Jersey is a lot more expensive than everywhere
Well,
else.
I mean,
And there's really no opportunity here. Like you need to go to places where there's opportunity. But like, yeah, I mean, it just people cannot afford, especially middle class people in New Jersey. I was doing my bills the other day. It's like, if you don't make at least 150 grand a year, you can't live in New Jersey.
No, you can't.
I make,
You can't.
between me and my wife, I mean, probably make 160, 170,000
And
a
that's
year.
breaking even.
And I can't even live anymore. I mean, I'm at the point. I was breaking even for a while, and now I'm at the point where I just can't do it anymore. Like it's just my bills have caught up, my car payments and everything. I maxed out on my credit cards, I claim bankruptcy or whatever. It just I just can't do it anymore.
I'm 50 years old.
It's disgusting.
Had a scientific history of my background. I'm trained in sales, customer service, all this kind of stuff. 50 years old. I got a roommate living in a trailer in Robbinsville.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
It's gross, dude. It's disgusting.
I mean, the gap between the rich and poor, and the rich and poor and the middle class. The middle class is more moving towards the lower end than excel. And the country really should be about protecting each other and raising each other up. Like raising each other up. That's what the country should be about.
Okay,
but we are so divided right now. It's kind of.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because we're all of the same age and the same upbringing and everything like this. We all were taught as children the American dream. What was the American dream? Family, 2.5 kids.
Work your ass
your
off.
house.
If you work, the harder you work, the more successful
Exactly.
you'll be.
So let me ask you this: what's the American dream now?
But it's.
I don't know.
Survival.
Well, that's
It's
what
not thriving; it's survival.
And that's not who I am. Like that's what they want you to do. They want you to take care of your own. They want you.
It's not what I want you to believe. It's what I'm asking you. Like, is that what it is at this point? You know?
if Kamala wins, it's every man for themselves at that point, right? I hate to say it like that. If she wins, it's every man for themselves, which it's kind of been for the last 2 years, like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get back to the immigrant thing. Like, do you see like what's going on in Europe? Like, it's insane. Like, there's what's going on in England. People need to be attuned to this, right? Like, so what's going on in England? They're flooding it with all these immigrants, and the immigrants got more right than the people of Europe, right? The people of England, right? And if you speak out against it, or they censor you, or they could arrest you. That is coming here. Like, if you don't think that's coming here, you're insane.
Pay attention, America.
Right? They want to. They have this ideology. They have this complete ideology that we need to dumb down America, or we need to be, we need to get away from imperialism, and we need to spread the wealth. But that's not what America is. Opportunities for everybody here.
No, but they, like just like you said, UK is under attack from they're having Muslim riots, they're having cities being burned, same thing's happening in Ireland, same thing's happening in France, same thing's happening in all these cities. And what do you think's gonna happen in Ukraine when now that the entire men between the ages of 18 and 40 or 50, whatever it is now at this point, who they're probably recruiting, old people at this point, are all dead. Like, who do you think they're gonna bring in? Who do you think they're gonna bring in to take over their countries, to be immigrants?
Right.
So then BlackRock, the same companies that build the bombs are the same people that have the contracts to rebuild the city.
100%.
Invasions don't always happen on your shores.
Right, but what I'm
You know what I
saying
mean?
is like the same companies, the military-industrial complex is responsible for killing everybody, and then they want to have the same contract to build all the buildings. It's fucking insane. The people, and the fact that like I have to argue on Facebook with people and tell them, and they want to talk about how Kamala's a woman and how she's black and how whatever color she is these days, or whatever race she is these days.
Or what dialect she's going to speak in her accents on.
And how they argue and how they want to defend the fact that Trump is bad and Orange Man this and all that, and they want to recite all the lies that they've told us through the media. It makes me sick, and so that's why I started this channel, is because I was so like, I looked at my children. I'm like, how are they going to get the truth from anywhere? How are they going to find the truth in media?
Well, they're not learning. They're not going to get it from the media. They're not going to get it from social media, because if they follow the wrong social media, they're just going to be brainwashed a certain way, because social media just hammers you with it, right? So like people need to get back to like really having discussions and talking about it, and it's good that you're doing something like this, and you need to have you need to talk. And I mean, I guess the other thing is you got to start understanding the other side, and they're never going to like.
Well, like so, for instance, I had a conversation on Facebook yesterday with someone who I argue with, a liberal that I argue with constantly, And they bring up all the same. Like I put up a image from Fox News and the New York Post about the hurricane, and how the hurricane, and how FEMA is not doing their job and responding, and how there's all kinds of
claiming to be bankrupt,
and how coming out of Mayorkas's mouth, he said we don't have enough money to help these people. He physically said that, right? We heard the quote. Yeah. We don't have enough money for the rest of the year, right? Mm-hmm. So and then if you go back, and then if you look at their other numbers,
storm brewing out there right now.
They gave $450 million to the immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. To the illegal immigrants coming in. But the people online are like, oh, that's not true. It comes from Fox and comes from New York Post. So now now the same thing I would tell other people, like, oh, you're watching the legacy media, you're watching CNN, CBS, MSNBC, ABC, blah blah blah. Now so I say that's all bullshit. Well, they say, well, you're Fox News and this is bullshit. So now we have both sides saying, oh, all the shit you get is bullshit, all the shit I get is bullshit. So now how do we mend that? How do we?
Don't, because it's left versus right, and you're not going to mend it, right?
It has to happen. One way or another.
And nobody's ever going to report the truth. Nobody's going to actually report the truth. They're just going to report their narratives for their side.
Because even Fox News is.
Okay. Give me a second, if you wouldn't mind. Like, this is actually how we came together with this show. Okay. Wouldn't you have to say that at one point or another, eventually, whether it's 20 years down the road, 2 years down the road, 200 years down the road, something is going to have to bring us back together?
Well, it's not.
What's that going to be? And that's my big question. It's like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be comedy? Is it going to be sports?
Or is it going to be war?
What is it going to be that brings us back together? Because we've had Germany split in half with the giant wall, came back together. We've had a civil war in this country. Somehow we found a way to be back together. What is it going to be that brings this divide back together? And there's no way you can have an answer for this right now. There's no way. But I'm curious to hear what you may think about that right now.
I think what could get people back together. You're never going to get people together on the social issues because
you're never going to get 100%.
You're never going to 100%. But if when Trump gets in. And
I love how he said when.
And when Trump gets,
love this man.
When Trump gets in, and the economy starts turning around, and you're starting to see America first. Like you're starting to see us. I don't know if the media ever report it, but like once you start seeing us going the other way, I think it's gonna cure a lot of different things. And then I think the guy that he's got behind him, J.D. Vance, is
a stud.
He's
48.
He's
48.
He was so masterful in that debate. It was insane. He was
so amazing.
He was professional. He was presidential. He actually even got Tim Walz to actually start agreeing with him.
Yes, he did. Right?
And when there was something wrong in terms of policy that the Republicans are not good, he apologized for it. Mm-hmm. Like he apologized that we have to do better. We have to figure it out. So Trump was the right guy for the right time to really put us where we need to be because our country is screwed up. He was the right guy at the right time, but we need to start rebuilding. We need to get rid of, he needs to, hopefully cleans the slump like he said he's going to do, and then I think that's going to get us back together. Now, will the left agree to that? I'm not sure.
But that's where I'm talking about.
Well, Trump has, like you said, you started saying this before when you started about, he said, call that the fake news. And since that moment, when he ran, he talked about fake news. Even me, I was like, what are you talking about fake news? Because even my stupid, feeble brain, as intelligent as I think I am.
We think it's a news.
I used to think, we grew up thinking the news was right, and they would never lie to us. And our government always has we're America. Our government has our best interests in heart, and they always will do the right thing by their people, right? That's what we were raised that way, right? I joined the Marine Corps at 18 because I believed in America. I was ready to die for this country, right? But then now you come out now and you're like, everything is bullshit, everything's a lie, But Trump is trying to say it.
I want to just ask you. I've been wanting to ask you this question for 3 weeks now. If you knew then, at 18 years, you wouldn't join.
No, I wouldn't join. I have a son who's 19, right?
Yeah.
And my son.
You don't want him going there.
My son is
But you don't regret.
We talked about him
did.
joining. But I can't with good conscience say, yeah, go fight for America, because I don't know what America means anymore.
Okay, but you don't regret.
And I don't mean America. I believe in the Constitution, for the record. I believe in freedom of speech, right to bear arms, and you go down the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'll die for it today. But that's
There's
not.
my answer.
But that's not what we're fighting for now. We're fighting for bullshit. We're not fighting for freedom of speech. We're not fighting for the right to bear arms. We're not fighting.
The question is,
it's all
bullshit.
bullshit.
A hell of a tangent here, but it's a beautiful tangent, brother.
We all grew up loving America, and we still love the principles of America, right?
That's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here, right? We all love principles of America. if we had to go fight, we'd go fight. But you're not going to fight a war in Iran for what?
For what?
For what? Yeah. Like, you're not going to go fight a war in Ukraine for what?
But okay. But in saying that,
come on my shores, it's a different story.
Right. But saying that for years, like as a Marine, I was ready to put my head down and just run into bullets for them because I believed in America. I believed in the concept of democracy and that we're the light. We're the ones spreading the freedom. We're the ones out there trying to suppress all the evil dictators out there, the Saddams and the Gaddafis and whatever else. There's millions of them that we've taken over or have installed leaders.
You always think about it like from the other side. Like you always think about it from the other side, right? Like I think about it like, well, is that's the way of our government protecting us, right? But then you start thinking about it, like, no, it's like it's bigger than that. It's more about money. It's more about power. It's more about influence, right? Like, I mean, sure. I mean, does government agencies do things to other countries to make America better in its standings or better negotiations? Do they take out people? Like, is that in our best interest? You think about that, but now you're like, this is just getting out of control because it's happening here.
Well, right, exactly. So, and if you want, you know who Mike Benz is?
No.
Mike Benz is he's a cyber. Mike Benz is a cyber security expert, but he worked for the State Department. And if you look on him, follow him on X, he gives like this. He worked for the State Department. He could tell you the dates and time when the government switched its foreign the same mechanisms we use to spy, the CIA used to spy on foreign governments. That when Trump won, he'll tell you the exact how they did it and all the philosophies and everything that they used. They took that whole apparatus of us spying on and our how we used to install politicians, protest.
Nothing secret no more.
No, I'm just saying, but they took that whole the NGOs, the State Department, installing leaders, protests, causing terrorist attacks or whatever to destabilize the governments. They turned that whole apparatus on us now because of Trump.
Under the Patriot Act, probably.
So yes, right. So now why? Well, the Patriot Act was right to spy on all of our digital, everything online, and that's why the 9/11 really happened. That's one of the reasons. And the fact that 9/11, I was going to bring this up before and I forgot, is that Alex Jones predicted 9/11. You know who Alex Jones is, right?
Yeah.
Alex Jones, if you listen to his podcast, I can play the video for you if you want. He predicted 9/11, and he even said the words Osama bin Laden in June of 2001. Was
that the time of the first attack?
No, September. Obviously, September 11th.
No, the first attack on the trade.
Oh no, that was in the 90s, wasn't it?
That was like
97 or 98.
Yeah, so that was after. It was after that.
Did you? There was a story, and I hope you can look it up, and I hope I'm not talking out of my ass at this point, which is very possible. Very possible that they had taken the suspect that they had from this. He was like on a helicopter ride. He was going out of there, and there was a CIA agent that, and apparently it's on film. I don't know this. This is just a story. It's just a story. So fuck you if you don't like it. All right. And he said, "You little son of a bitch. They're still standing." He punches the dude in the mouth. Right. He looks. He goes, "Give me more money, and it won't be." And look what happened a couple of years later.
Well, Alex Jones specifically said the words Osama. They're going to be attack on the Trade Center.
They called him by name.
And he said it's Osama. And there's going to be a guy we used to pay in Afghanistan because he was part of the rebels against the Soviet Union.
But he was also an ally.
Soviet Union war. We were the ones who were funding him. We were funding the Afghanistan rebels against the Soviet Union, which happened to be Osama bin Laden was in charge of those rebels. Mm-hmm. And then 10, 15 years later.
We'll never know. I mean, you hear stories about it all the time that he was a CIA operator, but you'll never know. Like, we'll never.
No,
we'll never,
for sure.
You'll never know.
We won't know.
You'll never know, and there's been hundreds of false flags, and we'll just never know. It just where we are right now is things do not make sense. And let's go back to America. And Trump says it all the time, and people don't listen. Like, if you want, come to this country, come legally. But you need to have our values. Like, you need to have American values. We want you to come to this country and have American values. We want you to come here and grow. But when you come to this country, you don't have the American values, and really you're here just to kind of destroy the country at the local level. That's a huge problem, and I don't understand why people don't see this. Like, not us, but the other side.
Isn't there, like, if you're an immigrant, illegal or not,
flabbergasting. Is that a word?
Don't you leave your country because something was wrong? Like, why would you leave your country to turn something else into exactly what you had?
It's a great
Right?
point. You're talking about like people who like have to come to America. You're saying.
You come to America, but now you have to have my idealisms.
Right.
Okay? No, you come here and you embrace ours. That's why you came here.
Right.
It's why you fucking came here.
But here's what happens, and you'll see it. And you said, and Trump said it, or JD said it about Springfield, and somebody else said it about what's it called. So these immigrants come, right? And they come, and then they live here, and maybe 80% of them are good people. Maybe they just want a better life for their kids and their family, but they are controlled by a local priest, or like a priest, or let's call him a pimp, right?
I go.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to Springfield. Like, I understand a lot of these people are coming to this country and they're looking for better lives, and you got to figure like 80% of these people are here for good intentions, but those 80% are probably controlled by the local boss, like from their neighborhood. They're probably they're controlling these people with fear and kicking the money back up to the it's like almost like the old days, like when
But those 80% are not the ones we're afraid of. It's the 20% that aren't.
we understand that. I understand that, but that's why this is not right. Like, so you just can't let hundreds and millions of people into this country, and then they're being controlled by their local warlord or their local boss, and that's what the problem is.
Right. So
Yes.
I believe.
Absolutely.
My opinion is that they're making them the enemy. Right. So the reason why are they importing an entire army of people? Why? Well, we've heard about the Great Replacement, right? We've heard about. Votes is the easy one to say. Oh, it's for votes. Obviously, they're trying to get people to vote, which makes which based on all the voter registration, you go on the Social Security registration and the dead people that are registered to vote in all these swing states and all. There's people there's so much corruption. Back 2 months ago, on the Social Security website in Texas, they were showing that how they actually, up until they took it down, they actually had stats of like 40,000, 50,000, 20,000, 10,000 people in all these Michigan, Wisconsin, Texas. They're all dead people who are now registering to vote now all of a sudden. That was happening over the summertime.
Jamie, to this day, I don't talk to my father.
No, I didn't know
Have I ever told you this story?
No.
Well, 4 years ago, he voted for Joe Biden, and
So did I.
we have just had this divide that separated us. Problem has been dead for 18 years.
So I agree with Alan. Is that most of the people, and that's the sad part, is that in America we try to find the good in people, right? So 90% of these people are probably good, and they come here for a better life in America, and then they get here and they realize, oh, some shit's going on here. They got the people aren't happy with us, and now why do all the American people hate us? Well, it's not. We don't hate people. We don't hate you guys. We don't hate the people. It's not. Have nothing against the people. It's that the people are unfortunately caught in the middle and they're being used as fodder, political fodder.
I want to make a couple points. Like,
Sure.
like the first point is, like, if you go to downtown Red Bank, like at 7 a.m. in the morning, there's the Wawa. There's got to be 80 people out there looking for work at 8 o'clock.
Same thing in Manawan.
And this is not right. Like, this is not right because two things are happening, right? So number one is they're taking jobs, right? And they're not paying taxes on the job because, a contractor picks up people, labor for the day.
It's all cash.
All cash, right? And then number two is the landlords are not paying rent. The landlords are not paying, like, they're getting their rent in cash, right? So, and what a lot of these people do, they send their money back to their home state. So it's just, there's got
Home country.
And that's the point. That's where the money goes back.
There's got to be, like, the American people are paying for them, right, to get here. They're helping them, and they're just taking jobs. And Trump is not a great speaker. Like, I love Trump, but he's not. He's not a great speaker. Like, he's not very
fantastic. He's the greatest.
You're gay.
He's not articulate in his thing. But if you really dig down to his point and what he's saying, he's right. So these people are taking jobs, and they're taking lower income jobs, and they're not putting the money back into the society. They're sending the money somewhere else.
They're not.
But you're paying for it.
But by the way, like you were talking about, like, wow, I don't know exactly what you're talking about because I worked for the funeral home, like, right across the street there for years.
Right.
Which will remain nameless.
I know where it is.
Remain nameless. And
Red Bank.
yes, not too far from the hospital.
We know where it is.
Right.
Us New Jersey
Do you
people.
remember when we were younger? what would it
I don't
cost
remember
for you
anything.
if you went to Wawa, okay, and you grabbed a couple of
Coffee?
like Mexican
Oh,
people
sure.
or whatever.
$100 a
Listen,
day.
I need some work. I need some work done. I need two of you guys. We're going to do some planting. You're going to be here for 4 hours. What would it cost you?
It was like $100
Back then.
$100 a day and lunch. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Do me a
$100 a
favor, do me a
day
favor,
for
do me
8
a favor,
hours. It was
do me a
$100.
favor. Ask them now.
No, it's
like 250 or 200
least.
A piece.
a piece.
sure.
A piece.
So even the
Okay, so even
the
they know,
illegals-
they know what inflation's about. These people know what it's like to not work at McDonald's.
But it's almost like they
Kamala.
it's almost like they formed a union though. Like you can't undercut anybody else in the group. Like there's
You're right.
There's a
Absolutely.
I actually
you're
thought
right.
about becoming a union. I actually, believe it or not, when I was in the union in the city, I'm like, someone should organize these Mexicans and I'm not nothing against Mexicans for the record. I have nothing against anybody for the record.
150
I'm
pesos
just-
a month.
All I'm saying is that for the people who weren't here legally at the time and working, and I have nothing against those people either.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, they're being used and being exploited, being used against the American
They
people.
work their ass off.
I want to make this point. And
They work their ass off.
But
I want to make this point.
I thought about organizing them. I'm like, I should become a business agent for the Mexicans and start that whole industry.
Well, he's still in Redneck.
this was 20 years ago.
I really want to hear what he has to say about this because he's still in
I want to
the
make this
Redneck
point.
area.
And
Yeah.
This point is pretty scary. Okay, so you have all these people coming in from the country. Nobody knows who they are and where they're from, right? And people pick up these guys to go work at people's houses. Okay, so I was at the liquor store, right, and I was getting something to drink.
Greatest place ever.
And there was a young a foreigner. He was Mexican descent, and he was in there, and he had some hardcore gang tattoos on his really hardcore stuff that on his
Like
body.
MS-13 type
Like,
place.
Spider tattoos.
Hardcore, and he was in the liquor
Tears,
store.
the tear.
And you know what? He was picked up and worked with a contractor for the day, but he's in your house now and working on your house, right? Like that's what's going on. Like you're letting these contractors are hiring people and letting them they're working at your house, and there's no record of who they are.
Background checks.
No background checks. No nothing. Like you don't think they're casing people's houses at some
Sure.
point?
Yeah, casing people's houses. Alan, I haven't seen you other than out and about. Since high school. It's been 30 years.
Right.
Okay.
So you guys were like best friends.
I'm invited. I'm invited into this guy's house every week at this point to do this. You got kids.
Yes, I do. Two
You
of them.
got kids.
For the record.
Right? What if that guy comes to
Cut some trees or put some pavers down. I don't know.
You
who's
want
on
him
my-
knowing you got an
I don't know who's
attractive
on my
daughter
property.
and a wife?
And I never thought about that.
Bullshit.
I never thought about it. I always thought hey, these are good guys. They're just looking for work. But when I seen this guy's tattoo, a 13 and this and that, I'm like, these guys are working on my yard. Like, you know what I mean? These guys.
Okay, I mean, everybody's got a past. Everybody's got a past. We
Right.
all do. We
Yeah, but
all
the problem
do.
with America.
Okay, but for God's sake, if you were going to advertise your past like that, you have to understand that there's going to be a consequence to that too. And the fact that I can't answer for that consequence, I don't want to hire this guy. I don't want this guy here. I don't want him in my country. I don't want to sponsor him here. I don't want to have to pay for his health care.
Well, the problem is, okay, the money aside, all that stuff is true. The problem is just like you said, American values, right? We Americans are generally good people. People that have been
Shut
here,
off my back for anybody.
we're good people. And that's why
You're a good
that's
hu-
why they've
you're
had
a good human.
But that's why they've had to manufacture racism. That's why they've had a fake BLM. All that they tried to make black versus white a huge thing in the 2020, right? They tried to make us hate us all dividing and go against each other. But the problem is there's not enough real racism in America anymore that they have to manufacture it. So it's like they have to create. Like, what about Jesse Smollett? You might know
what happened to him? Why is he in jail?
Jesse Smollett went to jail for that whole fake racism
And he
thing.
was
And
out.
Kamala backed him immediately. Oh, we gotta protect him. He was being a racist fucking
The
whatever.
guy almost started a riot.
But that's
for
what I'm
his
saying. But why?
bullshit.
Well, so why? Okay, what? If racism was that bad in America, why do we need to?
Why do you need to make
why do
it
we
up?
need to create it?
Why do you need to make
It's
it
not
up?
as bad as you
Exactly.
think.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
there is a racist. Sure, there's racism in America, and it goes both ways. It goes all ways. It goes this way, that way, or this way, right? But I mean, a lot of people want to say racism because of the past, of what happened in the past. I'm not responsible for the past. I'm not responsible for the past. None of my family members are responsible for the past. I can just only deal with today and now, okay? And doing what's best for the group, right? So the moment like a media or a politician starts bringing up you were slave owners or blah blah blah. it's just for political gain, but people don't see that.
Right.
They don't see they're being used, okay? And I hate to say it, like, how much money is given to these inner cities, right? Like, we give billions of dollars to these inner cities. Has anything ever really changed in Detroit? Has
Nope.
anything ever really changed in Baltimore? Like, they're not making their lives better. Like,
They're shitholes.
they're not making
Blue
their
cities.
They're not making, like, like, you look at some of the Chinese cities, they got the state of the art cities, they got state of the art, like,
the
rail
Chinese
systems.
construction
Oh my God! Great thought. Czechoslovakia was always a war-torn country, correct? We always thought of it as war-torn.
As far as I
countries.
know.
Okay. Well, to get off topic but on topic at the same time, I'm a huge hockey fan. I love my New Jersey Devils more than anything in this world.
We know that, Michael.
Okay. They just played
The Devils suck.
in Chechnya, which is the old Czechoslovakia, in Prague. Have you seen these countries and their transit systems are the cleanest, most beautiful things
Even
you've
Russia.
ever seen. It's amazing.
Did you see that?
This was just over the past 2
Carlson interview?
days.
Did you see that? Well, I mean, and America doesn't know this because you're censored. Like, did you see what Tucker Carlson went to Russia? And there's 2 points I got out of that interview, right? The first point was he went to the food store. The food store you could eat off the ground. Right?
So
Really?
clean.
It
So
was
clean.
beautiful. It
Never
was
seen this
clean.
interview?
It was
Gotta watch it.
clean.
Russia?
In
Russia.
Russia. Beautiful. Moscow. It was a beautiful mall.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful
It
thing.
looked like 1990s, early 2000s
And
America.
then what he did is he went shopping, and nobody knows this because they censored Tucker Carlson, right? So what they did is he filled his basket full of food and fruit and all that stuff, and he's like, well, this in America would probably be like $400 or $500. It was like $120 American.
Yep. And so all the sanctions that we're, as Americans, we're putting against Russia for the Ukraine war ain't working. Ain't doing shit. They become a wartime economy. Now they're self-sufficient. And now Russia
Because they produce their own energy.
they produce their own everything. Energy, weapons, fucking agriculture, everything. They do it.
And
Russia does it all.
And you not for not, and they want to tie Trump to Putin, right? They want to tie Trump to Putin, but Trump is saying what Putin's doing. He's like, we don't want to be a nation of consumers. We want to produce our own stuff. Like, we're a nation of consumers, right? We borrow money off our
That's for
credit card. Next thing we get it delivered from Amazon instantly. That's made in China. Like, we want to produce and have our money circulate here. And like, the biggest thing that Democrats like to say.
Guilty.
Guilty
this week.
We're all guilty. But the Democrats like to say is like tariffs. Tariffs are such a big thing. It's going to drive the prices up on consumers. You know what the answer to that is? Then don't buy it.
Then don't buy it.
Exactly.
Buy it local.
That's the
Find a way
beauty
to
of
buy it local.
That's the beauty of capitalism.
You don't buy it. If it's too expensive, you buy it and use a local community, a local what's it called. Okay, so that's that. And then the second thing I got from that Tucker interview, because nobody listens to this, right? Nobody listens to what actual people say. What's the name? Putin actually said to Tucker, he said, listen, we want to negotiate, and we never wanted to go to war, but the American media, right, is a monopoly on information to the world.
100%.
Right? And he says, no matter what I say or what we do or whatever happens, it's going to be spun through the American media. And you could look, you could find those clips with Tucker and he was saying.
It's a great interview. I'll put the link below.
Yeah.
I'll link the interview.
Please. We don't listen to what people we say. We listen to what's regurgitated to us, and that's what we take on. You really need to listen to what people say. And one of the biggest things I've ever seen in my entire life, that people just kind of gloss over, is everybody wants socialism, right? Everybody wants to have their fair share.
I don't want socialism.
Well, they want a fair share, right?
Everybody wants to have equal opportunity, whatever.
But they don't want to earn it.
They want to tax the millionaires. They want the millionaires to pay for it.
Tax the billionaires.
They want to do all that stuff, right? That's a tagline.
We're gonna make them pay their
But
fair share.
our system is not set up for socialism. It's not set up for socialism. The system is set up really to protect the class, right? Like Trump said it on the Saturday Night interview. Not Trump said it. Who said it? He was a comedian. He was the comedian.
SNL? No.
He was on Saturday Night Live, and he said it on the thing.
Nate Bargatze?
He said it on.
Shane Gillis? No.
No, he said it on. He goes. It was about the debate between about Hillary Clinton and Trump, and he goes, if you want me to pay my taxes, then you got to change the tax code, because I know you won't. I know you won't, because your friends use the same benefits that you do. What advantages does a W-2 employee have? What advantages does a business owner have versus a W-2 employee? They have tax write-off. They own businesses. They have depreciation. I mean, Trump pays no taxes. Why does he pay no taxes? Because he owns.
Because that's the tax law you wrote.
Because he has.
You know what I mean?
He has 30 properties that he depreciates. He depreciates because the building's not worth the same it was last year on depreciation. Mm-hmm. He pays employee tax. He pays all that tax. He pays more taxes than anybody, but it's just not income tax. Now, me and you, when we're on a W-2, when they taste the tax rate, we don't really have depreciation.
23% or something?
If they raise it to 40%, our check just goes out the door.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Comes right out of your check.
Comes out of your check.
Don't even care.
Yeah.
So, getting to this now, would you
So now yesterday.
Let's talk about Butler. Let's talk about Butler.
So yesterday, Trump went back to Butler, and he had the historic rally.
Triumphant return.
I'm going to show you a picture of the situation. This is just an image of.
Tell me, this is a state that's gonna not vote for this guy.
This is an image from Butler yesterday.
Looks like
It
freaking
looks like
Woodstock.
friggin' Woodstock.
That was
Woodstock.
probably like when it started, before it started.
Right, and if you look at the back of this picture, you'll see there's I don't know, there's got to be half the amount of people still walking in.
Well, yeah, not only just like walking in, but I mean, did the White House not give them enough security? It could have been twice the size.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like people like Kamala. Kamala is not pulling. Kamala's not. She has the balls during the debate to say that people are leaving Trump rallies. They didn't even leave when the bullets were flying. For fuck's sake,
right?
There were bullets flying and people were still there chanting, "Fight, fight, fight."
I'm so bored that I'm still pulling it up 2 days later.
Can I tell you guys a story?
Of course.
So.
Of course, that's what you're here for, my man.
I'll tell you a story, right? And listen, so don't anybody get crazy. It's all out in the open, all right? So January 6th, I was at January 6th, right? I was there, and I wasn't there near the Capitol. It's full disclosure. I was nowhere near the Capitol. I went to January 6th.
For the record.
So you could report me whatever you want. I'm fine. I was nowhere there, whatever. So
FBI already came.
I went there. I watched him speak, right? I watched him speak. I left and went home. Okay, on the way home, we got notification that the Capitol was being breached, whatever, right? But when I was there,
what did you think when you heard that, though? That the Capitol was being breached? Did you? And I really want you to continue with the story because you've told us this story earlier, and I love it. I love the fact that I'm sitting next to a patriot.
I'm gonna say
what I would like to know is how did you feel when you saw him speak?
Let me go through.
Do you feel he incited you to do something?
Let me go through the whole process, right?
Fair enough.
So
we
got there.
Thank you.
When we got there, we sat there and we waited for hours for him, and he showed up like maybe 1, 2 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Nobody's gonna tell you this, right? No, you'll never see a video from overhead. There had to be at least 100,000 people, maybe more. The whole Washington Wall was full of red, white, and blue.
It
okay,
didn't look like that on TV. I'll tell you.
It was full. There was so many people there, right? And everybody was just waiting there. Okay, just waiting there. And I'm sitting next to this. Older couple, like a grandmother and like 2 older people, 7 years old, and they were crying, waiting for the president. It was the most peaceful. It was like the most peaceful, energetic, supportive crowd I've ever seen in my entire life.
Have you ever been to a Trump rally?
No, but I've heard.
I have in Charlotte. He's absolutely
I've heard
right.
Trump rallies are the most amazing experience
He's
you ever have.
absolutely right, 100%.
Now, when I left and went to McDonald's, got a hamburger, got in a car and left, I didn't think there was going to be any problem. I thought everything. He never said go to the Capitol, he just said march down the Capitol peacefully, just let your voices be heard. That's all he said. Mm-hmm. Right? So we jumped in the car. I was like, we got a 4-hour drive. We're going home, so we drive home. So
you were still living in Jersey at the time.
So when I got that notification on my phone that the Capitol's being breached, blah blah blah, I didn't believe it. Like I'm like, why would that happen? Like that just doesn't make sense. Now like as time went on, you start thinking about it and you start hearing things. Like you could see there were bad actors there. Like you could see there was like groups of bad actors like on corners. Like that were wearing like
I just caught what he was saying. Yeah,
they were like wearing military gear. They had military gear on. They had things on. They just didn't fit in with the crowd that we were in. Right?
Yeah.
It just you wouldn't notice
that mask on. Right?
You wouldn't notice. You would never notice it. You would never think about it until after that happened. And then on the ride home, my friend was saying like a month before when he went to a rally. There was a month before. I think there was a rally on December 5th or 6th. He went down there. He said Tifa was there, and they were like, Antifa was there, and they infiltrated the crowd, right? So like, I've never thought about any of that stuff until after the fact. But when I was there, it was perfect. It was like probably most patriotic thing I've ever seen.
It's
And the reason I went, let me go for the reason I went, because the reason I went is, and I can never prove it, and I don't think anybody could ever prove it, but there's no way in hell that I thought he won, because he didn't campaign, and when he did campaign, he was in like these white circles, okay?
Biden?
In these white circles, and then at election night at 10 o'clock, they called the race. They called the race.
Called it for Trump.
They called it for Trump. They called it for Trump, and I'm sitting there, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, Trump comes out and says, "Yeah, something's going on here." And to me, he was up by 200, he was up by 200,000 votes in Pennsylvania.
Which, so now if Joe Biden won 81 million votes,
more votes in history than anybody,
than ever in history. So it's really that. So and now there's videos on X, and you can research this, all you people, if you want to. There's video beyond video. Probably an hour's worth of clips of people stuffing ballot boxes with the mail-in votes prior to the election all over the country. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, they decided to. Then all of a sudden, Biden took the lead. So now Biden,
and it's still now 2 weeks. So
now they had to create a scenario where Biden received more votes than Trump. So now if Biden received 81 million votes, more than the history of America. Who really received more votes in the history of America?
Well, that's
Donald Trump.
Well, no,
so that means Donald Trump had more votes ever.
But that's also because my father went out to vote.
Your dead father. My dead father too, I think.
And this is why I think this is why there's going to be a problem. This is why I think I'm concerned that there's going to be a problem, because this is all going to come out in the wash if Trump wins. It's all going to come out in the wash.
Do you think that there's a bigger scandal about to happen November 5th?
Of course.
I don't think they.
I mean, don't you have to be more elaborate than you were 4 years ago?
Michael, just like Alan said before, they can't afford to let Trump win. So
very true.
So think about the powers against Trump. You have the deep state, right? The banks, the bankers that control the world money supply are against Trump. You have the pharmaceutical companies against Trump. You have the Department of Education. All the 3-letter agencies in America are against Trump because he wants to shut them down and fire half of them, right? Fire most of them.
But how can you shut down what you're looking at?
Well,
make it. What's Donald Trump's biggest thing? Talking in his rallies now.
I mean,
make it too big to rig. Make it too big to rig.
I don't know. I don't know how things work, but you can't tell me a computer they don't know who's voting, and a computer can't add a vote.
Right. Here's the problem: is that we all know now as American voting. Now, the last time I voted, they put me in front of a machine, and they say, "Oh, here you go." How do I know what that machine is doing? How can I follow that vote to the next phase and where that gets uploaded to the server, and that server? I mean, it's impossible to know.
You're
like no one sends me an email saying you're registered to vote for Donald Trump. No one sends that. No one ever does that. You just go in and vote. You assume being American, my vote can count. Who knows? See. The real question is, either they're going to let Trump win, right? Either they already know that Kamala's shot. And that there's no chance.
She's got no shot of winning. She's zero.
There's no chance of winning. If you look at the crowd sizes and just look at, it's just there's no way. It's impossible that she has enough votes to win. So what's the real play? What are they really trying to do? Are they trying to they're going to let Trump win and then they're going to use the division between us to cause a civil war, or they already know that it doesn't matter.
That's my fear.
Or it doesn't matter what happens, that they know they can cheat, and it doesn't matter. That Kamala's going to win because they can type in 20 million votes, 100 million votes.
I mean, just think about this. You think these 20, and this is just, think
speculation.
Of every speculation, and I have a thought process, right? That Trump wins, right? Right? You have 20 million people in this country. Half of them are military-age people.
Yep.
You don't, and he wants to deport them. You don't think
that's terrifying?
You don't think there's a problem there?
Oh, there's gonna be a huge problem, and that's gonna be
terrifying.
And that's a great point. So they could use once Trump. So say Trump does win, and they are gonna use that. There's gonna be at some point there's gonna be a civil war between us and the people who protest Trump, because there's gonna be that's gonna happen, and there's gonna be. And then what about the immigrants in the middle? They're in the middle, and then so where are they going to fall on this whole line?
I kind of think the rank and file. I think there's really good Americans in this. If you work for the FBI, you work CIA, you work whatever. the rank and file, the what is it, Secret Service? The rank
Sure.
and file are good people.
Yeah, absolutely. The
They're
workers
good,
are amazing.
They're good people, right? But they're
The agents on the ground.
Do you know people in the Secret Service right
No,
now?
I don't. But like their leadership could
good-
be.
We
good
went to high
Americans,
school with. I'll talk to you about it later. Can't say I'm on there now.
The leadership could be compromised. They could be compromised. So when things start going downhill, they might start turning on their own.
Right. Well, I agree, and I'm praying for whistleblowers to come forth, and they might already be there. That already might be happening. The problem is the information flow and
Did you see that whistleblower the other day from the FBI?
who from Bongino? No.
Yeah. There was the whistleblower the other day. He was in front of Congress and he said the American people should load up. They should load. He actually said, he's like, American people, something's going to happen. You should. And he sat this in front of Congress. He sat in front.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
I
he
saw
said
that.
you should. He said you guys, American people, should get 3 weeks worth of food. They should get 3 weeks worth of
Yes.
what's it called now. I'm a firm believer. Like I am a firm believer that we're being manipulated on both sides. Okay?
Agreed.
There's a lot of false information, and we're being manipulated on every level. So it takes a lot of work to actually figure out what's true and what's not true. Okay, but to have your head in the sand during all this, you're crazy, because this truly is the most important election in the history of elections. If Trump loses, all the stuff that happened prior to him is going to be washed away, and it's going to be business as usual, and you'll never have a fair and even election again, because the voter rolls will be swamped with people from the left.
And how do you prove that people are voting if you don't have IDs to vote? Like, how do you prove that people are voting illegally if you don't require ID? Right? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Every single Democrat in Congress voted against the law to the SAVE Act, I think it was called.
You know what makes sense? That there's no way she wins. That's if she wins, it makes zero sense.
Right, no sense.
She hasn't campaigned. She has no policy. She can't speak. She's never gotten a vote in her entire life. If she wins, that we have some serious problems.
Well, we already have serious problems.
We have some serious problems.
Well, that's the thing. So, like, there's three scenarios in my opinion. She wins, and they just cheat to the point to where they don't give a shit.
And then I hate to say it, that might be your. I'm not condoning any of this. If she wins and they cheat and they try to hide it, I hate to say it, that might be your civil war.
Yeah, but supposedly there's and it's all over Twitter and online, is that supposedly the military has been getting ready for something bad to happen inside of America for months now. Now
if she loses, the Democrats are going to have a serious problem, because they're not going to win for the next 12 years.
So, all right,
At least.
So wait. Okay, continue.
Who do you think would be a Democratic nominee at this point if Kamala loses? And please, Jesus Christ, do I love so much, let that happen. If she loses on November 5th, who do you think, out of curiosity, who is the Democratic nominee that could stand up other than her again in 4 years?
Well, I'll tell you, Gavin Newsom is there.
I'm curious. Like, who could do this?
If they lose, they have to remake the party.
Yes,
they do.
They have to remake the party.
But is there anybody there right now that you say it could be a standout?
If they lose, the party should be remade. Like, they should be. I'm not saying Tulsi Gabbard, but that Democrat Party, the Democrat Party is not a Democrat Party no more.
It's gone.
It's a machine for something else. It's a corporation, right? So the there should be a revolution. And let me just put this, and not in the United States.
Peaceful revolution.
There should be a revolution.
Peaceful. Remember your words are your weapons.
Right. There should be a revolution inside the Democrat Party for control, because the control of the Democrat Party basically is the Democrat Party is run basically by like 3 people, maybe. I don't know.
Obama.
So let me ask you this: Do you think that the next potential Democratic leader
Might be me.
might not even be a Democrat at this point?
Well, I think Trump is probably one of the most centrist politicians there's there.
Trump is the party of
center.
common sense, dude. It's just
right in the middle.
just common sense. Middle is common sense in my
The
opinion.
only thing that I wish that Donald Trump was able to do was actually do what he's accomplished over the past 12, 16 years as an independent, I think that would have been amazing.
You know, here's two things.
Honestly, I really think that.
I love the fact that he came and jacked the whole Republican Party.
I love the fact
changed the
when
RNC.
When you got two sides that hate your guts, you're doing something.
Now you have
right.
a Trump. You have a Trump running
You're
the
doing
RNC.
something right.
I think it's beautiful.
Like you just think about it. Like COVID came, and I 100%. You know, like they proved it was built in a lab, and I 100% released it. All that stuff.
In the Wuhan lab.
You know, you're gonna call me conspiracy theory.
No, I agree with you.
About to bite you.
But
The Wuhan lab where they were performing gain of function on the same virus.
Where were we at in December of 2019 or 20? We're in 2019. The economy was
amazing. We were doing awesome.
Everybody was making money. Interest rates were like 2%. Like,
and the man was going to get 4 more years.
People were buying. People were buying second homes. People were buying shit. People were making money.
They don't want
and all
that.
of a sudden, COVID comes, and then we crash the economy. Imagine if we had 4 more years of Trump. Like if his plan wasn't even in place.
Right.
It wasn't even in place. It just got started.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. I'm gonna.
I agree with you.
We would have had no wars. We had no wars. We wouldn't have some millions.
The problem is that Trump is America first, and he truly does care about the people. The rest of them is all it's just a bullshit lie to make us invest money overseas and steal our money from the taxpayers. It's all big money. It's a big money laundering operation, right? We all know that.
I don't want a conversation about this. I just want yes or no, whatever.
We got to wrap it up soon.
Was COVID put together to tear down the Trump administration?
So, yeah, well, the Phillies just tied at 3-3, so that's why I'm pissed off. But anyway, so yes, my opinion.
No, yes or no. That's it.
My opinion
was
yes.
COVID? Yes. What do you think?
I can't just say yes or no. I'm going to say this. What happened in February 2020?
I lost my business.
Was it when he shut it down? No.
I lost my
February
business.
2020 wasn't that when that was his last impeachment vote?
I think so. Yeah.
Wasn't it? It was.
I think it was his last impeachment. He didn't get convicted for impeachment, right? He didn't get through the Senate. What happened in March? Everybody was shut down.
Right.
You know, and like I said this to my wife, right? and she was like, oh, whatever. Like, but what did they start doing like in like February and like they put that every news channel? Did you ever see that? There's that video like every news channel says the same exact thing.
Yes,
right?
I have it.
Yeah, every news channel says the exact same narrative, right? And what were they plastering all over the internet like in like
death tolls?
No, well, I remember that. But remember what they were doing in like December and January? They had this little logo with like these little spikes sticking in it, and that was COVID. That was a logo. That was a logo. They created a logo to. Oh my God!
It was embedded in it became your fear.
It became your fear, and then on YouTube, you watch YouTube, you would see.
I never thought of that.
It was a logo. They were pushing the logo. They should just wear shirts.
They sold plush animals that were supposed to be the fucking COVID.
Right. So it was a logo, and then what happened? Then you would go on YouTube, you would see people with masks on, like getting in a cab, just dropping over in China, and everybody was so scared of COVID. Like everybody was so scared of COVID. Like then you go on YouTube. Right in February, they had this big chart. They had this chart of every nation, and they were like, 4 people died in this country. Right. 4 people. Like so, I'm locked in every Saturday or every day. I would look at the COVID chart. Like,
how many people died?
It was like a scorecard. Yeah. It was a scorecard.
I remember being in the emergency room at Riverview because I was living with my mother she's elderly. So I was in the house and I checked in because I had the sniffles. And I went in there just to make sure I didn't have COVID. I shit you not. God is my witness. I swear on my father's grave, who voted for Biden apparently, and my dog. I was in this isolation room with a TV that was just blasting you with COVID shit. I was
working the whole time.
I forgot all about that. I was terrified.
I had to work the whole time.
So let me just go.
Had to get 3 shots.
And by the way, I never had it.
I never
got it.
I've had COVID 5 times, and I've had 3 vaccines.
Have you really?
Yes.
You are a Democrat.
Well, I was a Democrat. You're right.
So
unfortunately,
I said and let's just get out of Trump thing. Just say I'm running for president, right?
I vote for you.
Like I'm running for president. If you're voting for what just happened the last 3 years, excuse my language, I don't like to curse, you're fucking insane. They locked you down.
You're retarded.
They locked you down. They said you either had to get a shot or work, where they had no proof that the shot worked. They
6 feet didn't work.
They told you how to go 6 feet. They took your money. They did all that stuff. Like, they're letting the immigrants come across the border without shots. How are you voting for this? They put masks on your kids and told them to stay home from school.
Shut down schools.
How many kids are still screwed up from all that?
I know this. I know the answer. It's mean tweets.
My kids
It's mean fucking tweets.
My kids never went back to school after COVID. My son never went back to school.
But
Nobody kids got anxiety over this?
Yeah, my son refused. My son didn't want to go back to school, and my daughter went to school for a year, and then now she's homeschooled because of it. So COVID destroyed our children's education, and it's destroyed so much stuff. Even my family, my whole family dynamic has changed since COVID. Like we all, and of course, remember, we all weren't allowed to hang out together because we had COVID, whatever. So, but like ever since then, like we've never gotten back on track. My whole mother's side of my family, never.
You think I wanted two things, and you guys can wrap up. But how many young athletes are actually dying if they don't report? Like you'll see a 18-year-old kid dies of a heart attack. Like
sure.
They don't report that stuff, and nobody ever comes out there. So that's point number one. So people should really investigative reporting should do that, right? That's number one. Instead of telling Trump is bad. And the second thing,
actually reporting was real.
Like I think like August. I think it was like around August. I have a video. August or September. So me and my wife, like we were like, oh my God, this is getting crazy. My daughter's getting ready to go to college. I'm not vaccinating my kids no matter what. They're young girls. I'm not vaccinating them. And I said, you know what? I'm sick of wearing masks. I'm not wearing a mask no more. It's bull crap. So I said, if Murphy makes us get vaccinated mandate, I'm out of here. So me and my wife went to Florida. We bought a house in Florida during COVID, right? Because I was ready to pack the whole family up in Florida. I probably should have. So I'm gonna give a shout out to this, right? So I'm in Florida. I leave New Jersey where you have to wear a mask everywhere. Everybody's got to vaccinate. Kids can't go to school. I go to Florida. All right. I go to Florida. I bought a house, whatever. I go to this food store. You guys can look it up. It's called Seed to Table. The guy is a diehard Republican conservative. It says you have the First Amendment. You have the First Amendment right, Second Amendment right on the door. You go inside Seed to Table. It was a fucking party. They had fresh food. They had a band upstairs. Everybody's walking around with a wine glass. Everybody is partying, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is happening in another part of the country where I came from New Jersey. I can't do anything. So I'm going to send you the video. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
And the media tried to make Florida look bad. They
Yes.
tried to make Florida look like they were out of control and that they're irresponsible and how they're letting people do this and do whatever, not following the code of the rest of the country. Now you asked the question before. Do I think that they did that to manipulate the election? It's hard to say specifically yet.
Evidence is pointing towards
it's hard to say specifically that it was created just to get Trump out of office. However, regardless, they used the COVID leak out of the Wuhan virus lab to push Trump out of office.
Okay,
it's either they let it out.
So my question, yes. Yes.
But
It's either happened by accident or on purpose.
Okay, can I just ask a series of questions? You can say yes or no. Okay. The media told us it was created by a bat. Where was it actually created?
No, pangolin. I think
Where was it actually created?
In Wuhan, huh?
It was created in a lab. It was created in a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Who actually created gain of function? Who actually paid for it?
Fauci.
We did.
The United States government paid for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of equals 1 + 1 equals
2.
Right.
Why?
So how did it get released into the American or into the world?
Why?
Well, they let it out.
Hold on a second, though. Why was it done in China?
Well, I think
Because it was the only country out there that didn't have the laws against what you were fighting. You can't splice genes and splice stuff in the United States.
Not legally, but you can do whatever the fuck you want if you're American.
It goes to China, and blah, blah, blah.
The military does whatever they want.
Who owned the building and the facility?
But
it was the United States government.
But
it was Dr. Fauci.
It's crazy, and I'll never be able to prove this. So it's my words versus everybody. But the first week during COVID, what did I do? I sat down and watched YouTube. All right, and I watched YouTube. And there was a video that I found. I don't know how I found it. Maybe somebody was trying to manipulate. Maybe somebody was trying to download me. They actually said that it was actually the COVID vaccine was actually patented.
That's crazy.
COVID.
Not the vaccine. The virus is actually patented. And it had a history of so somebody was trying to manipulate me, or somebody was trying to talk to me, but everything was there. It talked about the media, it talked about the vaccine, it talked about this virus actually has a patent. It actually talked about it talked about Fauci's history. I'll never be able to find that video ever because it was taken.
Next week on the Bello Show.
I remember watching YouTube videos of doctors trying to blow the whistle on the COVID situation, saying that it's all bullshit and that the government's giving money to hospitals and doctors to just classify deaths as COVID, even if they weren't COVID. So like you could have died from a stroke, but if they classified as COVID, you got an extra $1,000 towards the hospital.
People have died of a motorcycle accident.
So like, so like all the deaths were COVID deaths, even though it was bullshit. We could put it up if you find it. Yeah. So we're getting long here, guys. We're almost at 2 hours. So
No, you're gonna cut it up.
I'll take care of this real quick, and we can move on. Okay, so we're gonna get to the
well, listen. Well, first of all, let me play this video before the Reverend
Yes,
rant.
absolutely. Play the video.
Let me just show you. Yesterday in Butler, the people's movement is real, guys.
God, I thought
You
we already did
got
this.
we
That's
did, but we didn't finish the video. But we got there's three American Patriots here sitting here from Middletown, New Jersey. We have families.
And thank you, Alan, again.
The only reason why we're doing this,
very much,
the
Alan,
only reason why we're doing this is to bring awareness to the truth and that we've been lied to, we've been manipulated by our government. Our politicians, 95% of them are crooked, disgusting, and are all being paid off by somebody or being exploited or held blackmailed by somebody above them, and none of them have our best interests at heart. So I'm just going to. So yesterday in Pennsylvania, before we finish, let me just show you this video real quick.
Return to Butler.
No, we already showed you the crowd size, right?
Yeah.
But this is just a quick TikTok video. Look at the size of this crowd, dude.
Look at that.
How do you even?
It's like Led Zeppelin.
It's
is
insane,
ready to hit
dude.
the stage. Like
This is for a president. Tell me the people's movement isn't real?
These are the same people that tried to suppress the level of people that showed up for his inauguration. Look at that.
It's
Look
just
at
crazy,
that.
dude. It's crazy.
I'm gonna thank Jamie, and I'm gonna thank Alan so very much. Alan, thank you so much for coming around this conversation. 20 minutes apparently goes an hour and
2 hours now, boys.
It's almost 2 hours. Alan, thank you so very much, man. God bless you, brother. Take care of that shoulder.
Thank
Take
you for
care of that
having me,
shoulder.
guys.
Hooch! Hooch!
We all want the same thing, right? Freedom, security, and the freedom to talk to each other. So that's all we're all about, So
Yep.
Guys, remember, make it too big to rig. Make it too big to rig. Wake up. Don't be woke.
The truth is all that matters, boys. Peace.